Okay, let's go back to the Tyrell one because again it's for free. I just want to show you the basic setup of this synthesizer. It looks like this. Basically the same flow again. We have the oscillator, we have the filter, the amplifier, 3 building blocks, and the rest is modulating. Actually, this Tyrell one has a number of 3 configured modulation sources. Remember what I told you in the first part was that the Oberheim synthesizers, they had 3 assignable modulation slots. You could say, okay, I want velocity as a source and want to map that to the amplifier to control the amplifier in real time. But the Tyrell has fixed modulation sources. That means you will find the modulation sources within each of the areas themselves rather than a separate modulation matrix block. Yeah? Anyway, the basic flow of audio is always, in most plugins, from left to right. If you look over here, we start with this block. This is the oscillator block, right? This is the basic sound generating. It's coming from these ones, and yeah, typically you can control, you will hear that, the type of waveforms, the pitch, and so on. The filter, the second one, is over here. So with this filter you can control the timbre of the sound, and there's an amplification here at the right where you can go out and basically have your sound. Here you have the modulators on the bottom. First of all, a low frequency oscillator that can run freestanding, so you have the low frequency running continuously. If you map that onto the oscillator, for example, you will get a pitch continuously going up and down like a vibrato without even doing it. You just play the sound and this is running and it is influencing the oscillator continuously without doing something yourself. You have actually 2 of them. You can not only have like a sine, like you have a nice vibrato, but you can also have a block type of oscillator, like that type of effect. Here you have a very small matrix with only 3 assignable slots, so it's very limited. Here you have what we talked about, an envelope. I will let you hear what it does, and you actually have 2 of them. So this is the basic building block of this Tyrell synthesizer. Actually, it's a classic analog subtractive type of synth, which means it has a typical wave tables or triangle or sawtooth or sinus type of waves only, with a typical subtractive filter, meaning that this filter is low pass. That means you can filter down sounds, take out harmonics. So you could say it's type of a mini-moog type of style synthesizer. So if you want to emulate classic saxophones or clarinets, this is not the one that you should go for. I have an overview later on where you can see what type of synthesizer to use depending on the type of sound that you want to synthesize. But this one, the Tyrell, is for classic analog synthesizer sounds, like the mini-moog, right? And it's for free. And so we go through it just to see what we can do. I skipped this one for a moment. It's another one. Let's see where to start, because maybe I just go basically through the synthesizer itself, and then later on I'll dive into this one. So let's grab I go back here, because we want to hear some sound, see what it does. So, okay, so here is the Tyrell now, the plug-in. Like I showed you, we have inserted it in one of our channels over here. This is the one. See, this channel here. If you play it, Itai, you will see that it will generate. Right. Okay. So, what is typical for any sound together with EWI, and that is that obviously you want to control the sustain note. As I told you in the beginning, it is very important and different from a typical keyboard. In a a piano. You just press a key and the sound is just evolving. You cannot really control it, right? It's different with a wind instrument. So first thing that is very important is to use the breath controller, that is part of the EWIs, coming out of the EWI, to control the filter typically. That is one of the first things that you would be looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. So here you see in the right here you see two slots, two modulation possibilities to map the filter, and I have assigned breath to it. Here you can see what you can assign to it. But first of all, let's hear the working of the filter. If you just blow a note, so this is the cutoff frequency.
So is the volume with the same amount of breath?
No. The filter is the cutoff frequency means the frequency at which the frequencies are being cut off. If I raise the slider, or if I pull down the slider, it will cut off, let's say, frequencies in the high end. And if I put it open, it will play all the frequencies. And if you have a, let's say, I don't know if that works. If I have a basic note, just a static one, like this, you don't want the EWI to sound like this. But you want, actually what you want to do is like this in real time, yeah, like this. Wait, so you want to control this with your breath. So now I do it here with a slider. Yeah. See? But I want to control it with my breath instead.
Yeah.
So what I do, I need to then to introduce a modulation source, which is breath. Yeah. And so I select breath here. And the breath is then controlling this slider, in fact.
Okay.
Yeah, in real time. So what happens if you blow harder? You get the effect of the slider going up and down. You don't see it, but in fact that is what's happening. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so if you say, yeah, I want it more dark, then you can pull down the slider. Then it takes more breath to open up. That's the highest. If you blow hard, the filter isn't opened yet. If I want to go like this, then my basic. So then you can go up higher even. So this now, when I have attached this modulation source, this slider is now defining what is my lowest. Say, if I blow soft, what is my lowest opening of my filter? And if I blow and increase my breath, then in fact the slider going up. That's what's happening. Yeah. So this is one typical modulation source. That's one of the first that you should use. Yeah.
And this from 0 to 10, what does it stand for?
It's just max and minimum. So 0 is closing as much as possible, and 10 in this case is opening up the filter completely.
And it doesn't stand for some frequencies?
No, not in this case. You
Okay.
do have synthesizers which actually indicate the frequency, like the ES2 is actually indicating while there's a label.
Yeah, that's what I saw. What are those numbers there?
Yeah, that is just something that the synthesizer has built in that doesn't really have a meaning, actually. It just
But you can change those numbers.
you can it actually indicates more in detail what the actual setting is. So you see it's 150 is the max setting.
But you can change it yourself, or?
That's what I'm doing right now, so I change that now.
No, but I mean that, for example,
No,
maximum would be 200.
No,
No, it
because
cannot.
this is
just-
max, and more open. The filter is completely open. So if
Okay.
you blow, even soft, it's always open. There's no way to control it anymore. So what I want to do is I want to bring it down, and while playing harder, I want to open it up. See?
Yeah.
So that's one typical thing that you want. One of the first things to do is to map the filter. But let's go back again here to the oscillators, because those are generating the basic sound. what you can see over here is we have two oscillators, actually two sound sources at the same time. In the mixer here we can define the volume of each of these oscillators. So if I bring one down, you only hear oscillator 1. And I can change the shape of this oscillator 1 if you keep blowing. Like this is a triangle. Different wave shapes, they sound different. Yeah?
There are four main waveforms, right?
In this one, yes.
In this one, but in general, in theory, there are four.
There can be many. First of all, you have the classic analog waveforms. That's triangle, sawtooth, block type of. Those are the three basic ones.
Three basic.
Yes. Because this one is actually a variant of this one. Yeah. But that's classic because they can easily electronically. It's easy to generate them. That's the reason why the first synthesizer just started with only these three basic waveforms. And along the way, different oscillators came around. We talked this morning about wavetables. Those can be, sampled type of waves that you can bring in with different types of sounds, sounding more hollow, sounding more bright, or it can define the sound pretty much. And the third type of source are samples. So you have the sample as a basic oscillator, you could say, and then the sample is the sound source instead of a analog generated waveform.
It's already done.
So there's already a sound then, but the principle then to try to tweak it is the same, because by playing different notes you want to sample to, play different pitch, right? So you generate a different sample with another pitch. But this sample you also want to filter, because it might be a bright sample, and when you play soft you want to bring down the sound volume as well as the brightness of the sound, and that's where you use the filter for. So the basic idea is always the same. In this case, because we are purely talking about an analog emulation, analog classic style synth, only here you will find classic waveforms, just being triangle, block and sinus type of waves. In general you could say that the block one is more like flute type, because they have less harmonics, and the triangle and the sinus type, this resembles a little bit sinus, is the richest, contains the most harmonics. So, but that's in your book about classical waveforms and how much harmonics are inside, how you build up a waveform. Yeah? So, the next thing that you probably want to do is you want to control the volume of the, it means if you blow harder you want to have the volume go up, if you blow softer you want the sound to sound softer. And that's something you do in the amplifier, and in this case there's not really an amplify section apart from the envelope over here. That's a voltage controlled amplifier. It's called an envelope. With this envelope you define, let's say, the characteristic of the amplifier.